Hey guys, so here's part 2 of the section 3 notes. Once again, we're going to find slope between 2 points. Now let's talk about what happens when we get the slope. What does that really indicate for our graph? Well, if we have a positive slope, meaning that the slope is a positive number, that means we are rising. The graph will rise from left to right. So you can see that here, that we go, let's say up the hill, right? So I go from, remember we always read graphs left to right. So I go up the hill. Now, if we have a negative slope, okay, that means we are falling from left to right. That means I go down the hill. Okay. Now, what happens when we have a zero slope? So m equals 0. Okay. Well, when I have a zero slope, that means my line is just going to be horizontal. Okay? Because that means basically we are never rising. We're always just running. Okay, what about an undefined slope? So this means we have m equals a number over 0. So anytime 0 is in the denominator, that means that it's going to be undefined. So that represents we have a vertical. Okay, so it's going to be a vertical line, but it's called an undefined slope. And then for here, I'll rewrite this. M will equal 0 over a number. When we simplify, it will be 0. Okay, let's use this information for example 2. Okay, so without graphing, tell whether the line through the given points rise, falls, is horizontal or is vertical. So to decide this, what we have to do is actually find the slope. So that's going to be our first part. Okay, so when we do this, remember I'm going to label. So I have my x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. Use my formula, m equals. So I'm going to write the formula because it makes it a lot easier for me to remember what I need to plug in. So my y sub 2 is 1, and my y sub 1 is 1. Okay. Then from there, I have my 3 is my x sub 2, and my negative 5, so I'm negative 5. Okay, so then from here, I have 0 over 3 plus 5, which gives me 0 over 8. Now make sure you do simplify, okay? So when I do 0 divided by 8, what does that give me? 0. So don't leave your answer as 0 over 8. Actually simplify it. So notice our slope is 0. So what type of line is when we have our slope of 0? Well, remember, that's going to be a horizontal line. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and do the next one, part B. So we're going to do the same thing, find the slope. I'm going to label. So always label what your x sub 1 and y sub 1 is, and your x sub 2 and y sub 2. Makes it so much easier just to plug it in. So my y sub 2 is negative 4, y sub 1 is 0. And then x sub 2 is 2, and then I have minus a negative 6. So negative 4 minus 0 gives us just negative 4. And then I get 2 plus 6. So I get negative 4 over 8. Okay, we do need to simplify all our fractions, so I get negative 1/2. Okay, notice we do get a number other than 0 or undefined, but notice it's also negative. So that means when it's negative that our line is going to fall. Okay, so what I'd like you guys to go ahead and do is pause the video and do example to C and D. Okay, let's see what you got here. So I'm going to label my x sub 1 and y sub 1. Same thing for x sub 2 and y sub 2. Find the slope first using the formula. So I have 8 minus 3, and that's going to be 5 minus a negative 1. So that gives me 5 over, and then that 2 negatives, remember, makes a positive, so I'm going to get 5 plus 1. That gives me 5/6. So there is my slope. Don't forget, leave your slope in fraction form, okay? Or if it's in a whole number, then that's good to go. And then make sure you simplify as possible. Now here, notice that we do have a positive number as our slope. So anytime it's positive, that means we're going to rise, because the graph is going up or increasing. Okay, let's go ahead and do the next one, our very last one, D. So we get slope. Okay, so my y sub 2 is -1, and then I subtract from my y sub 1, which is 6. And then my x sub 2 is 4, and then my x sub 1 is also 4. So on the top, I have -1 minus 6, so that gives me -7, and then I get 4 minus 4, which gives us 0. Now remember, can we divide by 0? No, we can't put things in 0 groups. So whenever we have 0 in the denominator, that means it's undefined. So when you do these problems and you get 0 in the denominator, your answer isn't -7/0 for your slope. Your answer for the slope is actually undefined. So you have to write out that word to indicate the slope is undefined, okay? So be careful on that. So whenever we have 0 as the slope, make sure it is 0, not 0 over a number, simplify. But when you have 0 in the denominator, don't leave your answer like this. What it needs to be is undefined. Now, when it's undefined, we need to tell, okay, what type of line are we going to have? Well, remember, going back to the 4 different types, here it's going to be vertical. Okay, make sure you work on the homework assignment, and if you have any questions, make sure you contact me. I'll see you guys later.